So here's a really important thing to understand, and I'm going to try to make it as simple as I can, but you need to kind of try to understand this because it's actually not very simple. When we are learning anything about the genitals, we can't just learn the movements. We can't just say, okay, I can touch like this or I can touch like this. That's just not enough. Just as much a part of the technique is how are you building that intensity? How are you growing her feelings? What is the pacing? What is the rhythming of it? Because that creates her experience just as much as the kind of movement you use. The right progressiveness is always super, super important in the genitals. Why? Because her body, her genitals and her clitoris, they work in a similar way like the body. When we go for exercise, when we go to the gym or anything like this, we need to first of all warm up. If we warm up correctly, then we can do a lot more. And if we try to do too much in the beginning, we might pull something, we might injure ourselves. It's the same with the genitals, only you're not going to injure it, but you're going to shut it down, you're going to make it uncomfortable, you're going to create pain, you're going to make it numb. So if you have a good skill of pacing the stimulation and making it progressive, you have a good feeling for it with the certain rules that I will give you now, then you're able to give her a really exquisite experience, because then you're not shutting down her sensitivity, you're growing the feelings, but you're keeping her really sensitive. So she feels a lot more pleasure, and also her body becomes more used to taking in that pleasure gradually. So she has a much more full body experience. So you can get into a far higher state of pleasure, orgasmicity, and bliss for her. And for added bonus, you're not going to shut down her experience completely by doing that. So I'm going to give you 3 simple rules because I want to try to keep it simple for you to follow. And I'm going to give you 1 bonus rule that's also a very good idea. So rule number 1, start from the smallest possible sensation and increase in the smallest steps that you can imagine. If you start with the smallest possible sensation, you are getting her to really tune in and listen very, very acutely, and that makes her more sensitive. If you then continue to increase in the smallest steps, you are going to keep her being so attuned and listening very attentively. She's going to keep being sensitive. Rule number 2, when you're increasing the intensity, you do not increase the intensity through speed. You do not move faster, because that can actually shut down the sensitivity. It creates the effect when you start moving more, and that numbs it. You increase the intensity through strength or length. What do I mean by this? If I'm using pressure and I want to increase the intensity, then I'm going to be gradually increasing the pressure. If I'm moving around the clitoris like this and I want to increase the intensity, I do not start moving faster. I start moving with more strength, with more firmness. This is how I increase the intensity. If I'm moving my hand through her genitals like this, then to give more intensity, I don't start doing it faster. This is not going to work. I start doing a longer movement maybe. So it goes from short to a longer movement that creates a bigger sensation. So you increase the intensity through the firmness of pressure or movement, or through the length of the movement. Speed might be useful only at very particular moments, like when she's really, really close to an orgasm, and you might finish it off with like 10 seconds of speed, but if it goes for any longer, it's probably going to numb her. Rule number 3, no rhythm. You might be asking yourself, what rhythm should I be doing this with? The right answer is you should not have any rhythm. What do I mean by this? Rhythm is mechanical, it is repetitive. You have put it on a particular setting and you are just repeating this. Now, this will work only for a few seconds. After that, she's going to start losing interest. She's going to start losing sensitivity. She's going to switch off because it is monotonous and it is boring. And another thing is that women's bodies, they just have this funny property that when they feel that a guy is really disconnected and he's doing something mechanically, they switch off. It kind of feels to the woman that you're not really interested, you're not really making an effort, you have just put something on autopilot and you're not really being creative with it. And she doesn't think that, she doesn't realize a lot of the time that that is what she feels. But her body feels that and her body shuts down. Her body goes, if you're going to do something mechanically without an effort, I'm not into it. So it's a funny thing, it happens. And when you've got a rhythm, it basically means that you can't be bothered to do one moment at a time, that you've put it on autopilot and you've gone away to have a cigarette while it's all running, There is no rhythm. There is one sensation in each moment. You're creating one sensation, you're giving her that sensation, then you give her the next sensation. And like this, there is always a little bit of a difference. There's always a slight difference in the length of the sensation. And that makes her really tuned in and makes her really sensitive. So she feels like it's a real conversation, like you're really there, like you're really present, and that is a massive turn on. So to be totally fair, you can use a rhythm sometimes if it's a very, very short burst. So for example, we are touching and we can do, maybe like a few movements in a sequence as a burst. So that can be okay, but very, very short, and then you move on to something else. And you never let it go for too long, because that is going to shut you down. So follow these rules to be a master of progression. Start with the smallest sensation, progress in the smallest steps possible. Do not progress through speed, progress through firmer pressure, stronger movement or longer movement, and don't have any rhythm, just create one sensation at a time in that increasing progression. And a little bonus rule, as I mentioned, sometimes it's nice to give her a little gap, just to have a moment without any kind of sensation, just to take in that sensation from the moment before, so she can inhale it into her body, it can spread through her body. If you do that, sometimes it's very short, like 2 seconds, 4 seconds. When you then come back to give her the next touch, she might be even more sensitive because it gave her that moment to refresh. So that works really well as well. So now, with all of this in mind, you can go and see how these principles are used in oral sex and in touching with fingers when I show you the technique next.